Welcome back, everyone. We are here live at Data Innovation Summit 2019, and it's time for Tech News with Qlik.
Yep.
I'm here with Sam Bäcknäs, and he's going to demo some cool Qlik stuff, and I'll see if I can ask him all the questions you guys are thinking about as he demos.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Great, thanks. So I'm going to focus on how you can become more data literate by using Qlik Sense, and especially our new technology, which is the augmented intelligence, and also our conversation analytics that we released this year, actually. So this cognitive engine can do a lot of stuff. So it's machine learning, and it's also AI built into this. And instead of showing a lot of PowerPoints, I'm going to focus more on doing a demo. So I'm going to show you more what it looks like.
Cool.
So, but first I would like to define data literacy. So how we at Qlik define data literacy is the ability to read, work with, analyze, and argue with data. So especially argue with data is something that's really important, because it's not always that the data is in perfect shape, and sometimes you need to fix the data and add more data sources. So that's also something I'm going to show today, how you can do that.
Does literacy mean that you need to have certain skills? What kind of skills do you need to be literate?
Well, the skills is that you need to be able to understand what you're looking at and also question the data quality, and because of course you can tricks with all the x-axis and things like that, so statistics you can always cheat with, but you need to understand what you should look at.
Is this something that everybody just has built in, or do they need to practice a little bit?
I think it's more practice, actually. So we did a study in August until February 2018, and then we could see that not that many people are actually data literate today. So only a fourth of the business decision makers, and only a third of the C-level executives.
So they also have to get their hands on. It's
Yeah.
not just enough to get the results, they have to dig into it themselves.
Yeah.
I see.
So of course it's different if you are a controller, if you are a C-level executive, then you want to see different things, of course. So you also need to build different versions. And I'm going to show you how you can use conversation analytics later on, which especially a manager might be able to understand better and become more data lit using that. And the app that I built here is based on something called from Gapminder, which most Swedish people have heard about, I think, because Hans Rosling is a really good presenter and a science and a doctor that looked a lot at the world facts and to see what's the trend and is it becoming worse or better in the world. So he had quite a positive view of the world.
So this is a data set that he was working with?
Yeah, exactly. So I just got it from Gapminder, the homepage. And here you can see that the literacy, it's not data literacy, it's just literacy, they will to read a book.
Yeah.
And then in 75 it was less than 50% of the population. And this is based on 150 countries.
Yeah.
So here you can see that you need to argue with the data that you don't have all the countries in this data set. And the literacy rate in 2011 was 85%, so it's been a really good increase. We want to do the same thing when it comes to data literacy. So this is a question that Hans Rosling had in his book called Factfulness. So then you can guess yourself, what was the average life expectancy globally 2018? Was it A, B, or C?
I would.
You have any guess?
Well, 72 is old, and I don't know if everybody gets to live that old, but he was a positive guy, so
Exactly.
I'm going to guess
You're
C.
smart. That's the correct answer. If you thought it was 50, it was actually from the 50s, so many years ago. And 200 years ago, the average age was 31 years.
Right.
So, good point there. You should be positive.
Yeah.
So now, what we do a lot now is that we move from just business intelligence to augmented intelligence. And now I'm going to show you how you can build something from scratch here. So here you have the Qlik Sense Hub, which is always a web interface. And I'm going to create the app from scratch here.
And this is an interface that everybody that wants to interact with Qlik would be able to use through their
so
web
you log
browser.
in here. It doesn't matter if it's an iPad or a phone or...
Is this the cloud, or is this something that's on-premise?
You can have both, actually.
Okay.
So we also have a SaaS solution, but you can also install it on-premise.
Okay.
So now I'm going to add some data source here. And then you can, of course, add a lot of different data sources. But I'm going to add it because I prepared the data here. You can see that I already combined all the data sets from Gapminder here, just to make it fast in the demo.
I saw that there were very many data sets. You could have Hadoop and REST APIs, but now you're just using a file.
Exactly. So especially REST API, I would say, is really useful to get data from online and just enrich the data that you already have.
Right.
So now we add the data here. So dot different measurements. But of course, you don't have data for all the countries because in Afghanistan, for example, you didn't have data from 1800.
Right.
But for Sweden, you have data from 1800.
And this step in specific, where you're adding data and sort of setting things up, this is something I imagine then that sort of maybe a controller or maybe a data analyst would be doing first before it's consumed by a less computer literate.
So what you usually do is that you create these master libraries of measurements and dimensions that the other users can use. So it's not always all the people that are doing this step.
Right.
So it depends on your role and what
so
you
now
want to
you
do.
are the data scientist and you're preparing it for someone.
And now we have this cognitive engine, which is our AI and machine learning. So I don't even need to build anything from scratch. I just took the data inside here, and then I look at life expectancy and children per woman, for example. And now it starts looking at the data.
So I don't know if the audience can see that, but you just clicked on 2 data points, life expectancy and children per woman, and I guess now it's chewing a little bit, trying to figure out
the best way to visualize this.
Right, okay.
Then I found a lot of visualizations that might be good. So for example, if I make this one bigger, then you can see that here is the life expectancy on the x-axis. And now it's a sum, which is not good because you need to limit the data because it's data from 1800 until 2018. So then, of course, you need to filter that. And here you have how many children per woman you have. And then you can also teach this by, for example, GDP here. I would like to do an average instead of sum. And when I do that, I can teach the engine this. So when my colleagues is going to use this measurement, they always going to get an average instead. So it's going to become smarter all the time based on this.
It's going to know what units go well with other units so that people don't make mistakes when they try to build things themselves.
Yeah. So now I'm going to add this to my sheet, and the next one is that I'm going to look at the trend as well. So life expectancy and year. So then hopefully it's going to generate a trend line, like from 1800 until today then, the life expectancy. So instead of building everything from scratch, I can just get help in the cognitive engine, visualizing the data for me. And then you can see also that I don't have data for all the data here. I only have it till 2018.
Okay, so at 2019 everyone dies.
Yeah, exactly. The apocalypse.
Yeah.
Too bad. I'm going to add this to my sheet.
What's a sheet? What is that?
So this is just...
like a dashboard?
Yeah, you can say that, exactly.
Okay, so you've added 2 visualizations to your dashboard. And one scatter plot and one line plot.
Yeah. And then we can, of course, I'm just going to change the theme here to have another theme with colors. And then you can see here that I will also like to search. I just want to look at 2018. So you can search for all the data inside here in the cognitive engine. And now I selected 2018.
I zoomed in.
Yeah. So then I'm going to just select the countries that have data for both the life expectancy and children per woman. Like I said, you need to argue with the data, and you can see that some countries don't have life expectancy here.
Right.
So then I filter the data here.
Okay, you filtered in 2 directions. That's pretty cool.
So now you can see here that the bubble size shows the population, and the color shows the GDP, and then you see the life expectancy.
Okay.
So a lot of children per woman in Niger, for example, 7.4. While you look down here, they get a lot less children. Which is quite clear when you look at this visualization that if countries become wealthier and they also going to decrease the number of children they're going to have.
Right. How do we know that one is the cause of the other?
Well,
one is the cause of which?
You can't be certain, you need to look at the data, but this is what it visualizes, and then of course you need to argue and question the data sometimes.
Yeah, okay.
So I'm just...
So you created that dashboard. I'm curious, you made a nice dashboard with 2 plots in it, and it looked like you can filter and do other cool stuff with it. When that's finished, can you publish it to somebody and somebody takes part of it?
Exactly.
What happens after you've created this nice
Because I get this in my work stream here, so it's just for me personally, all the apps here. Then I can just right-click on an app and publish it to stream, and depending on your role, from the 80 usually, you will be able to see different streams, and then you can also see the apps they're allowed to see.
Okay, so people can't invent their own metrics that... sales metrics.
No, usually you should have this central library of dimensions and metrics, so you can actually trust the data. Not like you have with Excel where you have different versions all the time.
Yeah.
It's more central here.
Different versions of the same version.
Yeah, exactly. So here I also added some comments in this storytelling, which is a dynamic PowerPoint inside Qlik Sense.
Right.
So maybe you can guess why did it go down so much in the life expectancy from 17 to 18?
Polio, measles, I don't know.
Not bad. So, because the
World War One.
It ended actually in 1918, so this is not the cause. More people actually died because of the Spanish flu than the World War One.
Yeah.
So about 3 to 5% of the world population died here, and 500 million were affected.
Yeah.
So
it's like the bubonic plague and all of those ones.
Exactly.
Make a little dent in history.
And now I'm going to use this cognitive engine to add more data, because I don't have this in my data set. So of course it would be impossible for me to know this. So I'm going to move back here and do this data. And then I have two different data sets, which is Excel files in this case. It could be a REST connector or a database or anything that you like.
What are you adding now?
So the first one is geodata, which means that you can actually categorize the countries, different regions, and also if they are low-income countries or high-income and things like that, then OECD.
Okay.
And then I also just found some data from Spanish flu. How many people died in a few countries in Europe? And now I don't need to build a data model, because it's going to build itself with the cognitive engine, looking at the data sets, how you should combine this. So if I load this data...
I suppose the Spanish flu data has dates and other things.
Yeah, I actually removed that, so it's just the country and how many people that actually died in the Spanish flu. And now I should also go back, because I added country here, and then I can go back to data here, change this, change the name, because I want it to be country, because that's something I already used in my visualization.
Okay.
You can always fix the data if you see that something is wrong.
Right, rename columns and that kind of thing.
And also pivot the data, and you can do a lot of things with a visual interface here. And then I'm going to do this a little bit smaller. And usually what you do is that you create a chart like this. This is the typical way that you used to do. Like you want to look at country, maybe you want to look at Spanish flu, how many people died in some countries. So Germany was actually most affected here. And now I have different data sources. I can just filter the data here. Click on Germany. Then you see the life expectancy here. So of course in the First World War, a lot of people, it went down really low. So here it was just 32.9.
Yeah.
Same thing with the Second World War. So now it filters on the data for Germany.
Yeah, it makes sense that they were affected by that.
Yeah. But then you also have this way of using the cognitive engine. So if you don't know how to visualize something, you can just add, for example, year. And maybe I want to take a look at population here. Then it visualizes in the trend line.
It'll guess the best way to look at that data.
And if you're not satisfied, you can have other recommendations here.
Right.
Just change it. So it's just a way to visualize the data in an easy way, and most people can actually do this.
So you've uploaded a bit of data. What does that mean? Does that mean that the data ends up, now you're running on the cloud, I take it.
Yeah.
So it goes up to the cloud and it stays there, or?
Yeah, it's in-memory technology, which means it compresses the data a lot.
So there's like a server backend that's hosting data sets.
Yeah. And we can, of course, use Kubernetes and modern technology to just scale up the environment depending on how much data you want to do or how many users that are logged in. So we have a really modern platform for those kind of things. And of course I can also go from, in this case I also added different countries you can see, and also the regions. So I can always go from this storytelling inside and start looking at the data and start playing with it. So for example I would like to look at, here you can see that a lot of countries in this region, sub-Saharan, they have low life expectancy and really low GDP.
Right.
But if I just select sub-Saharan Africa, of course you're going to see that there's a lot of difference between different countries in this area.
Within sub-Saharan.
So like Africa is not a country, it's so many different countries. And then I also added more sheets here that, for example, if you want to compare two different countries, you can easily do that. Like if I want to take a look at Germany versus Sweden, for example.
The best country.
Yeah, exactly. And then you can see what's the population in 2018, life expectancy, GDP, and how many children per woman. So actually we have more...
Wow, people are getting really old, huh? 80 plus years old.
So Japan is the oldest country in the world. And then I'm going to go back to my story here, and I'm going to finish up with this conversation analytics that we added, which is a way of using your voice. Since it's quite crowded here, I recorded a video instead, because it might be affecting when I speak with the phone. So it's using natural language, and you can use it on your phone. You can embed it in Skype or in Slack, or of course inside here the hub as well. So here I just recorded this yesterday,
So that's on your phone.
Yeah, so I just mirrored my phone here.
You're on Slack, or what are you using?
Yeah, in this case, because we use Slack at Qlik.
Uh-huh. And there's some kind of Qlik plugin for Slack that lets you use your
yeah.
voice, or how does that work?
Yeah, you just use your voice from the phone, so it's the built-in Siri in my case.
Okay.
So you can click down here to start speaking with it. So let's see here that I start speaking with it now. Like, what was the population 2018? So you can ask natural language and get the result back here. Then you can see 7.6 billion people in the world globally. And then next you want to take a look at the top countries. Show top 10 countries, population 2018. And then it actually generates this list. You can see China has the highest population, but it also generates a bar chart on the fly, so you can look at this.
I see.
You can also share this with a colleague.
Okay, how do you...
Then I just say email to Sam, which is to myself, because I need to be in the list here.
Right.
And then I send this, and then I get this visualization and this insight. So now I should have it in my email. And then you can also alert me when population 2018 is over 8 billion. So you can also add alerts.
Get an SMS when that happens.
And then finally, you can also just say, surprise me. Then it just generates anything that you like.
Cool graph.
Yeah, in this case it just says the life expectancy.
Like a data scientist would.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool. What do you need to do to prepare this so that you can have this type of function? Like, I'm a company, I have Qlik.
Yeah.
What types of things do I need to do to get that?
Yeah, so this last part is a company we bought in January. So what you need is an extension, and you also need to install this on a Docker installation.
Okay.
And you need to train the apps inside this.
Does it have to be Slack, or can you say
no,
Skype?
It can be Skype, or of course
anything you can chat in, I guess.
Yeah, you can also embed it. For example, we have been doing in Telegram and things like that, or WhatsApp.
Yeah, yeah.
It depends on where you are, so I would say this makes people more data literate.
Okay. I'm going to ask you two questions about two hype buzzwords.
Yep.
Big data and machine learning. So you've spoken a bit about cognitive services that are built into this, and it's pretty cool. It suggests different charts that you can use, tries to find correlations and that kind of thing. What would you say are the most AI-centric aspects of this? Can somebody, we were talking about data literacy.
Yeah.
How can they take part in AI stuff? Would you say that it's the surfacing of the insights with the help of the cognitive service, or?
Yeah, I would say more people can actually start analyzing the data on their own. They don't need to wait for IT to build the visualization or dashboards. And machine learning is actually built in that it's going to learn how I work, and my colleague is going to get recommendations based on how I've been working with the data.
Right. And then big data. So you said you host it in memory in the cloud or in other places, and you have scalability.
Yeah.
Like, what volumes can people hope to put in there? Should they be using it? You know, master data management and that kind of thing.
It's like 1 billion rows of data usually you take into memory. And if it's more than that, we actually released the big data index in February this year, which is that you don't load everything into memory. Instead, you index the data.
Right.
So you can do incremental loads, and then you can do this on IoT data and really large data sets. So you can get it streamed instead and have it all updated.
Is it still the same backend, or do you use Hadoop in the back, or Spark or something? Or
you use Hadoop in that case, and Parquet files.
Okay, so you can offload some of the computation to a big data platform.
But we also have this on-demand app generation solution, which means that you have an aggregated app. For example, if you take a look at the utility industry with all the smart meters, then maybe you have aggregated data on a daily level.
Right.
Then you want to drill down into the data. Then you can adjust, filter a certain region and a certain time period. Then it's going to get the data from that selections and generate it on the fly instead.
Yeah.
So that's how we solve the big data issues at Qlik.
Cool. Well, I really like point and click tools for me, because some stuff you do a lot of times, and when you do it a lot, it's easier to just click your way forward.
Yeah.
My question is, how much, in your opinion, how necessary is it to be maybe not good at programming, but programming knowledgeable? Is that a skill that people need to have?
I would say not any longer, actually. Of course, it doesn't. It's not a bad thing if you have some scripting knowledge. But as you have seen, it's really easy to visualize the data, take the data, build in the data model. So today, I would say it's not that important any longer. 5 years ago, it was really important in QlikView. But now we have Qlik Sense, that it's a lot more modern product.
If people do have existing code in, say, Python or something like that, what are the touch points with Qlik?
Yeah, so we can, of course, embed that. So we can use the engine. So let's see if I have this app here. I have somewhere UK crimes. So how it works, it's that you connect this to the R and you create the R script inside here.
So you embed the R script inside the
so
dashboard.
this is the measurement, because this is a UK crime, you only have data until 2016. Then it's going to generate based on the Holt Winters method from R. And the good thing here is that you can actually work with the data, like you want to take a look at violence and sexual offenses, for example. Then it regenerates, what do you say?
It reruns it through the R code?
Yeah, exactly. And then you get the result back. And in the next version here you can also...
And I suppose you could do that with Python too then?
Yeah, it's Python and R that you usually use.
Okay.
So it doesn't matter really. So that's how we solve that integration. Of course you can connect it to machine learning in Microsoft or Google or so.
Okay.
For us it's not important that you just use our technology. With the open APIs you can use it in so many other, and just get the data with the REST API.
Right, because you can get with REST APIs and that kind of thing.
Exactly.
Awesome.
So
well, that was a pretty cool demo. We're out of time now.
Yeah.
But I encourage you guys to go and look into this, and thank you for tuning in. We will be back shortly.